I mean, God just showed up in so many ways. But for me, it was the heat element and the time element. I'm a sleeper. I have to get 10, 12 hours sleep or I'm one cranky person. Ask Jerome. We didn't get 10 hours sleep. We were lucky to get 4 hours of sleep every night. And then the heat, no air conditioning. And I slept on a top bunk, so we had no fans. And so literally you laid there in stifling heat. And God gave me the energy. I mean, it was remarkable that you woke up and you had energy to go then paint in heat and sweat through the day and just then do vacation Bible school and then just spend time with one another. And it was just amazing to see God move through that.
The best experience I had was getting to work on the construction site with Lynn Vaden and Eddie Wayne, because man, they knew everything and they were really good at everything. And it was just great to learn all the tricks of the trade and all that. And it was funny because Eddie Wayne and Lynn kind of spoke their own language of sorts. They would, you'd hear Lynn on one side of the site yelling at Eddie Wayne something I couldn't hear him at all. But then Eddie Wayne would go, uh-huh. And then they do that a few times and then you look up and you have a church. So it's pretty cool. And I guess you could say that Lynn Vaden is kind of my new role model because, man, if I could work half as hard as him, I would be happy because, man, he never stopped. What impacted me spiritually is just getting to see, I work a lot with my hands and stuff. I work on my car and my boat and all that cool stuff. But it was really cool to see my work and what I helped work on going directly to further the kingdom and building a church and getting to experience what had taken place because of some of the things I helped do.
My stories are just about the road to Mabalha. That's where I splashed the little girl, yes. I drove through the puddle and drenched a little girl coming home from school, yes. Sebastian was riding shotgun with me there, and Sebastian is an interesting guy. If you're watching this, Sebastian, I love you, man. But he was telling me about a radio station that we passed. We passed in the middle of nowhere. I mean, 30 miles from the edge of the earth, there's a radio station. And he says it's on this channel, so we tuned the radio to that channel. And what are they playing? They're playing Oceans. We drove along a little further, and then they start playing that song, it's David Crowder, He Loves Us, Oh, How He Loves Us. And I'm realizing there, I'm in a foreign country, I am 50,000 miles from the edge of civilization, it feels like. And these kids are hearing the same gospel that I'm hearing right back here in Temple, Texas. And then I want to tell one more thing from that trip. When we got close to Mabalha, we heard this thud, and I looked behind us, and sure enough, the trailer had fallen off the van I was driving. Just laying in the dirt. I was like, uh-oh. And good thing we looked, because we didn't have safety chains, or I'd have left it a long ways back. But went back there, and the pin that holds the receiver hitch in had fallen out. And it wasn't there, so we had to send a group going back to look for it. They walked back a good ways looking for our receiver pin there to hold that thing in, only to realize we didn't have the little clip that holds it in. And the road was so bumpy, not much we could do would have held that in there. When we got there, I didn't know what we were going to do. And Pastor Darren showed up a little while later. And when he got there, we told him what was going on, and we said, do you happen to have an extra pin for a receiver hitch? And he said, actually, I do. And he went back to his van and pulled out a brand new one. And he said, when I left Temple, I bought a new hitch and I thought, I'm going to need a pin for that. So he bought an extra pin. Well, when he got to using it, he realized the hitch he bought already had a pin in it. So he didn't need an extra pin. And there I was in Mabalha, Belize, needing a pin. And God had already thought about that weeks before in Temple, Texas. And here's a pin. That's the only way I got that trailer back to the campground. Wouldn't have made it all the way back. So God is like more than you could ever imagine. It just blows me away how he thinks things through much more than I ever could long in the future.
There was this one evening that a small group had gone to the Mabalha Church, and we were with Pastor Darren, and he said, it's just 45 minutes down the road. And like 3 hours later, we're still looking for this church, but it just seemed like to take forever. And that's when Darren told me that everything in Belize is only 45 minutes away unless it's an hour and a half. So that was the running joke between the two of us, that 45 minutes or an hour and a half. But what I took away from the trip was that even though I don't have the talent to build the pews or the trusses, and I don't have the talent to teach the little kids at VBS, I can pick up and help where needed. I can roll a paintbrush, I can cut some lumber up and nail a little bit here and glue a little bit there, and even though I didn't have a big part in it, I had a small part, and it was very rewarding to do.
This was my first mission trip outside of the country. To be with Alana and all of you guys as a second family was just unbelievably humbling. The whole trip was just amazing, and I was just very blessed to be able to do that and to be used wherever needed for the different sites, VBS, working at the campgrounds, the construction at Marble High. The men took an extra trip, a few of us, up to San Jose, up the mountain to deliver some roofing tin. That was pretty awesome. And we just had a great time. So those were some of my favorite memories, is just being able to participate and see everybody work. It was very encouraging and inspired me to be a part of the group and to gain relationships with the people who were there. Sebastian and his family, Pastor Joseph and his wife, they were just incredible to be with. And I enjoyed rubbing shoulders with them and getting to know them. Around here, we'll see somebody on the street and get to know them and say, how's the weather or what's going on in sports, But when I talked to Sebastian, he would tell me, well, I'm witnessing to these people. I need a soccer ball. Got these kids to play soccer with. These neighbors down the road, just witnessing to them. And I enjoy talking with other people about how they're witnessing to others, not just about the daily news or what's going on in our world, but how God is impacting them on a daily life and spreading that light to those who don't know Him. If anybody can put you at ease or be a leader and inspire you to do something and do it without say, it would be him. He was quite the fearless leader and also the calming leader of our group, and it's always helpful to have someone who's knowledgeable and experienced to be the head of the group and to take us places we'd never gone before. And it was all God, but God used him, and I'm thankful to have Brother Darren as my pastor, and I think you would all say the same.
It was kind of something out of my comfort zone because I was going on a trip with a group of people I don't normally go to church with, but I was immediately welcomed, and I felt like family by the end of this trip with almost everybody. Probably my favorite memory would be the first day we went to San Isidro for VBS. We pulled down in our van, and all the little kids started running after us, so excited to come help us. We started painting the church, and then when we were finished and we were coming back later for VBS, the kids go, "Is VBS over?" And we were like, "No, we're just painting. VBS is later." So they had so much fun with us painting. They thought it was VBS. And then we came back later for VBS, and you see us Americans tiptoeing around the puddles, trying to get in, and these kids are just riding their bikes straight through the water, doing whatever they can to get to church. And that was just so encouraging, standing out in the rain to listen to the sermons. That wouldn't happen in America. And just their faith and what they, the lengths they will go to exemplify their faith is just so heartening.
One of the coolest things about going was to be able to impact the children. They were amazing. They were just so good. I've never been much on dressing up, so to get me into somewhat of a clown costume was a very big deal. You may not have known that, but it was. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was for a wonderful cause. The kids enjoyed it, and I felt as though I made them laugh, and that really just warmed my heart because I was able in that aspect to contribute. But the really cool part was just to be able to be there and watch them light up as we were even just driving down the road in that van. How excited they were to learn about the Word and to know a little bit more about Christ from what we contributed. I think the most emotional part for me was whenever I actually got to be there at the church in Mabaha and just see how packed it was and how powerful it was, that all we did was build onto it. And with a huge team, we all had a part in it. I helped with the furniture building mostly. I learned a lot, so thank you, Paul. And it was so cool to be able to see just those little pieces that we marked on and cut and sawed and was able to finally get put together for them to even just sit on. And I can just imagine the church overflowing. I think what got me was just, God was able that day to show us the end product, and it was the most rewarding thing. I was emotional that day. I cried and cried and cried and cried. And to be able to witness that. So, needless to say, I got every single thing that I wanted out of this trip and much more. I just want to thank you all for including me into this and allowing me to have this experience. Something I've been wanting to do for a long time. So, thank you guys.